They called us chosen saviors. But while the legends wore silver, I was wearing a wooden vest and eating rocks. I was just dust on their boots. A level 1 nobody staring at the gods of this world. I fought for every scrap of silver, mending my wounds with nothing but desperation. But then the idols fell, and a dying legacy rolled to my feet. My name is Elrin. I am level 5, and I am about to ruin everyone's game. Watch now. The prophecy promised a chosen savior, a golden child of destiny. But the prophecy forgot to mention the blisters, the hunger, and this damned itching mark. I arrived at the capital with fire in my heart, only to find a line of 300 idiots with the exact same glowing hand. Welcome to the herd. 2 hours in the sun. For this, a fat guard laughed while checking my mark like I was a pig at a market. Move along, number 412. A tavern should smell of ale and adventure. This one smelled of wet dogs and failure. 1,000 heroes, fighting over a single bowl of watery soup. Step aside, shrimp. A brute with a glowing mark the size of a dinner plate shoved me. My pride stung, but his bicep was bigger than my head. My stomach groaned like a dying beast. I found a street vendor selling hero's bread. It was hard as a curbstone and tasted like pure misery. One bite, and I heard my teeth rattle. Restores 1 HP, the sign said. I think it just gave me a concussion instead. Truly, a legendary meal. The crowd suddenly parted like the sea. She walked past, a goddess in shining silver, her level 50 aura so bright it made my eyes burn. Beside her stood a titan in ebony plate, a wall of steel and power. I looked at my dirty hands and whispered, "That's what a hero looks like." She didn't even glance at me. Why would she? I was just dust on her boots. But in that moment, I chose my target. I will reach her. I finally reached the board. No dragons, no vampire lords, just a stained scrap of parchment. Clear, the old warehouse of infestation. 10 measly copper coins. I checked my weapon, a rusted piece of a sickle tied to a stick. It looked more like a tetanus hazard than a sword, but it was mine. The warehouse loomed ahead, a rotting monstrosity of wood and shadow. My first quest. If I die to a bug, don't put it on my gravestone. The air inside was thick, with the smell of rot and something sweet. Then I heard it. The click-clack of many legs on dry wood. Something was watching. It lunged from the shadows. A beetle, but the size of a wolf. Its chitinous shell looked like armor, and its mandibles were dripping with foul slime. I swung my shiv, but my arms felt like lead. The blade just bounced off its shell with a pathetic metallic clink. Stamina low, my brain screamed. The beast backed me into a corner. I tripped over a bucket, falling flat on my face. This was it. The hero of prophecy. Eaten by a pest. But then the beetle stopped. Its leg got caught in a crack between the floorboards. It twitched, stuck in the world's shittiest texture. My lucky break. I didn't hesitate. I drove the shiv into its soft underbelly, again and again, screaming like a madman, until the clicking finally stopped. I survived. Suddenly, a burst of gold erupted from my chest. The air hummed with power, the wounds on my hands vanished, and I felt stronger. Level 2. I kicked a pile of trash near the beast nest. Something clattered. Not gold, but better. A real sword. Rusted, chipped, but a soldier's weapon. It felt heavy in my hand. Balanced. It didn't look like much, but compared to my old shiv, it was a godslayer. Time for an upgrade. I walked out of that warehouse, shaking, covered in yellow guts. I was still a nobody, but I was a nobody with a sword and a second level. I sat on a stump, the golden menu flickering in my vision. 1 point to strength and 5 kilos of extra weight capacity. Finally, I can carry more than a sandwich. I felt my muscles tighten. The rusted sword didn't feel like a heavy anchor anymore. It felt manageable. My first step toward not being a useless ginger kid. Back at the tavern, the board had changed. A new flyer was pinned over the rat quest. Goblins in the East Woods, 20 silver. Dead or mostly dead. 20 silver? That's luxury. I could buy real boots, a sharp whetstone, or maybe a meal that doesn't shatter my jaw. The risk seemed worth it. I packed my meager supplies, a bit of rope, a dull knife, and my lucky bread. The forest was calling, and it sounded a lot like a death trap. The east woods were a maze of gnarled trees and choking fog. The sunlight barely pierced the canopy. A perfect place to die, for only 20 silver. I saw a glint of light near a crude wooden barricade. There, a goblin sentry, small, green, and ugly as a dropped pie, my target. Time for stealth. I crouched low, trying to be as silent as a whisper. If I could just sneak behind him, I might actually survive this. My heart hammered against my ribs. Just 5 more steps, 3. I didn't see the fallen branch until it was too late. Crack. Oh, shit. The goblin twisted around. Our eyes met. His beady gaze filled with murderous delight. It didn't scream, it just smiled. A terrible, jagged smile. The little bastard didn't charge. He whistled, a shrill, piercing sound that cut through the forest air like a knife. He wasn't alone, never alone. I lunged forward, swinging my rusted sword with both hands. The blade was heavy, slow, and clumsy. The goblin just danced away, laughing at my effort. Something bit into my shoulder, a jagged stone dagger. The pain was blinding, searing through my arm. My health bar didn't just drop, it plummeted. I didn't use a combo, I didn't use a skill. I just hurled my entire body weight, slamming the heavy iron hilt into its skull with a sickening crunch. Panting, exhausted, I stood over the fallen scouts. One goblin had escaped into the dark. I wasn't a hero, I was a survivor, and I was terrified. I dragged the goblin ears back to the guild, my vision blurring from exhaustion. The clerk tossed a heavy pouch of silver, and a blinding light swallowed me. Level 5, the number felt like a crown. I dumped my points into agility and endurance. No more tripping over my own boots. Hopefully, ever again. Then, the talent unlocked. Second Wind, a passive ability to ignore pain and restore stamina when death is whispering in my ear. A true survivor's gift. My body felt different, lighter, faster. The weight of my gear was no longer a burden, but a part of my very soul. I was evolving. I headed to the forge. My pockets were heavy with silver for the first time. It was time to turn this garbage into a real blade. 15 silver for a tempered blade. It was beautiful, sharp enough to cut a whisper. I should have stopped there, but my greed wanted perfection. One more turn on the whetstone, just one more. Then, a sickening crack echoed through the forge. My 15 silver turned into worthless shards. Broke and desperate, I scrambled for what was left. A wooden chest plate, some basic boots, and 2 vials of liquid hope. Better than nothing, I guess. The wooden armor felt stiff and smelled of pine. My new boots squeaked with every step. I looked less like a hero and more like a clumsy carpenter. I clutched the 2 health potions like they were holy relics. One mistake, and I'm back to level 1, or worse, a corpse in a wooden vest. I pushed open the tavern doors, seeking a quiet corner to hide my shame. But the air was thick with the copper tang of fresh blood and terror. The doors burst open. The ebony knight, my idol, collapsed in a spray of blood. He was broken. If he couldn't survive, what hope did I have? Where is she? I wanted to scream, but my throat was tight with fear. He reached out, a glowing purple crystal sliding from his cold fingers. A dying legacy. 1,000 greedy eyes fixed on the gem. The chosen were ready to kill for it. But I didn't see a treasure. I saw a map to find her. I lunged through the crowd, my wooden armor creaking. My hand closed around the cold stone. Let them come. I am level 5, and I have a reason to fight. I have the crystal, but she has my heart. If you want to see a level 5, nobody reach a level 50 goddess. Subscribe and like, the climb starts now.